In our next story, we're going to introduce you to a rather unusual wildlife instructor. Now, her resume probably reads something like this: has a great rapport with kids, recognizes more than 25 Idaho species by their droppings, and can walk like a toad.
So it just walks on its toes. Then it'll swivel, and it just walks like this.
Meet Professor Scat in Tracks. Actually, her real name is Adair Evans, but to these 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, she's a bit of a legend, a wildlife tracker with the skills of a modern-day Daniel Boone.
Otters also have that little smell about them.
She easily captures the attention of these students at Hope Lutheran School in Idaho Falls. But attention is something she's been accustomed to as she journeys across the width and breadth of Idaho, driving an old van full of taxidermy animals. Well, most likely, those animals are on their way to a presentation at one of Idaho's 700 schools. Adair Evans heads up Project Nose to Nose, an educational program sponsored by the Idaho Department of Fish and Game in cooperation with the Bureau of Land Management.
It's pretty heavy, so you might want to get towards this end. There you go.
Last year, over 8,000 Idaho school children went nose to nose with badgers, bobcats, and bats. The idea is to present wildlife and natural resource topics in a manner that challenges the children to think like a scientist.
So what we need to do to learn about animals is look for the clues that they leave for us to find. Now, animals leave all kinds of clues for us to find. What's one clue that an animal might leave for us? Droppings, scat. Yeah, and actually scat is one of the best clues that you have to figure out what an animal obviously has been eating. Maybe if it's sick, if it's healthy. Where has it been? Do you think by looking at scat we can figure out part of an animal's habitat?
Along with the taxidermy mounts, Adair's presentation includes plaster casts made from wild animal tracks, ranging from coyote and elk to geese and toads. The students learn how to group the footprints into families and then, yeah, you guessed it, how to identify the scat that corresponds to each track.
Bears will eat so many berries their scat will turn blue.
Adair goes on to explain how a bear's diet changes with the season of the year and the habitat, all of which can be read in the animal's scat. It's a science lesson built around childhood's favorite pursuits: camping, hiking, and spending time in the outdoors.
Sort of look like this. I've always been real interested in animal tracks and what you can kind of learn about animals without really seeing them, and all the clues that are kind of left out there. So I just thought, well, if I'm interested in it, maybe the kids will be too. And so that's where a lot of my ideas kind of come from, things that I'm kind of interested in.
But the best part of the whole lesson is when Professor Scat in Tracks says these magic words.
Why don't you come on up and have a look?
The students are allowed to touch most of the animals, to literally go nose to nose with predators and prey, whose relationship, by the way, fascinates this future scientist.
I learned that the wolverine stayed away from people. I thought it would attack them if they came on the territory. I learned that porcupines actually had hair. It was very interesting. I learned that you collected scat.
It's quite obvious that 9-year-old Beth Stoops found the whole presentation intriguing, but then it seems that she's a wildlife biologist at heart.
I love great horned owls. In fact, I love all types of birds, even eagles. I think it's very interesting that you guys come around and teach people about this. I think it's really nice.
I think the most rewarding thing about my job is just watching the kids. When you're giving a talk and all of a sudden you see a kid out there whose eyes just kind of light up and you realize all of a sudden they get it. And they'll start asking questions about some things. They'll want to know more than you told them. And that's really the fun part, is kind of realizing that, yeah, I actually did sort of touch that child.
The first question from the smaller children is whether or not the animals are real.
Now, do you think their eyes are real? No. That's right, they're glass. What about the claws on the animals? Are they real? Yes, they are.
This presentation for kindergarten through 3rd grade is called Animal Inns.
And so you can think of a dead tree like this one as really an inn for an animal. It's a place where they can sleep, and it's also a place where they can find some food that they might need.
The students learn about the food chain, about the need for shelter, and the reason why a cold-blooded animal like a turtle is inclined to sit on a log in the sun. But like a true researcher, this little girl questions the conventional explanation.
The reason why I think turtles don't get sweaty is because they're slow.
That might be one reason why. She said, I think the reason the turtles don't get sweaty is because they're just slow. Well, that might be a reason why, too. They don't move very fast, do they? It's amazing what kids will ask. I've had some questions where I just had to say, I don't know, because they'll come up with some of the strangest things.
I've seen holes in trees in Yellowstone.
You have seen holes in trees in Yellowstone? What kind of animals do you think might have lived in those holes?
Chipmunk.
Chipmunk?
Well, they're really excited about being able to touch things that they are not used to seeing. Of course, the bigger animals, the wolverine and the badger and the bear, they were very interested in. They loved animals.
Okay, what was your favorite animal up here?
The owl.
How come?
Because I like their claws.
What do you think they do with those?
Pick up their food with it.
What do you think about dead trees?
They're neat. I like to climb them.
Pick me up and...
For Adair Evans, soon to be a parent herself this summer, the reward comes in helping to mold a new generation of good stewards, young citizens who will grow up to be capable caretakers of our planet. Here at Hope Lutheran School, it looks as though the message has been well received.